and going back to Magna Village for dinner and the party tonight. So let me introduce David Sandoval. He's the creative delivery manager at iTexico. He's also a product designer there and business consultant. He's involved in designing more than 200 products for web, mobile, and Internet of Things. He has worked with clients in more than 8 countries and across several industries. He's also a co-organizer of Startup Weekend Guadalajara and where he mentors for startups and is passionate about communities and collaboration between the technology ecosystem. So please, let's give him a warm applause.
How's it going? So yeah, there's awake, sleeping, awake, kind of in the middle, right? Okay. So I mean, it's tough to be the last one, kind of the block between you guys and the party. So I'd like to I'll try to make it quick, painless, and starting with, well, this was my original title, right? From MVP to idea to MVP, using design thinking to collaborative and coming up with cool ideas. And then I heard these talks from Katrina, from Ryan, from Amy, I mean, all these different cool titles that I was like, fuck, I mean, this is very, very boring. So let me switch it up. It's not gonna be the name of this anymore. Let's build cool shit together. I think that works better. So in that tone, I'd like to start it up. But before I go to kind of introducing myself and the rest of the stuff, I'd like to know who here works with startups? That's a lot of people, right? Who here is trying to be an entrepreneur or has been an entrepreneur in the past? All right, cool. Who wants to be an entrepreneur? It's everybody, right? So just sum it up. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. You want to be the next CEO, founder, build the next Facebook. Good luck with that. So I'd like to talk about how we can probably get there. There's a few things that I've done that I think will help you, hopefully will help you. So before that, let me introduce myself. Hello, hey, my name is David. I like technology, I like solving problems, understanding people, and there's my Twitter. If you want to troll me or whatever you want to do, just don't retweet too many things, negative things. And I go by Sandoval because I like to think of myself as a calm person, and also like to kind of think about things before I do too many stupid things. So with that in tone, I also like to solve problems. I've been sort of building my career as I like to think a problem solver for a lot of different companies. In the company that I work with, at Texaco, my main role is sort of help companies, Fortune 500 to lower scale startups, to identify what the problems are and how we can reach to an MVP or launch something that we can validate quickly. So I like to show this problem. It's not a lion, a leon. I'm just kidding. It's a local joke. A leon is not how you think it is. This is a lion. It's a problem. So I ripped it up from a website that I really like. It's Design Sprint, so I'll talk about that later. But this is what I do pretty much every time. Think about a problem and how to solve it. And that's what the problem looks like. You have like a cloud of very weird, complex factors that you like to take into account to get into our solution. And at first, you're super confused. Everything looks just super mind-blowing, and there's a lot of factors that you have to kind of dumb them down and make sure that you understand how to solve it. And you slowly kind of reach into a place where you can solve a problem in a way. Probably not the best way, probably not the only way, but it's a way to solve a problem. So that's how we're gonna kind of be focusing on this talk. Hopefully you'll find it useful. If not, throw me a tomato and I'll get off the stage again. So that's the company I work with. I was saying, at Itexico, I've been with them for about 5 years. I was kind of the 4th employee, now it's 180. So it's growing nicely, and I had a chance to work with a bunch of companies, mostly enterprise. And that kind of brings me to the segue of what I want to touch first, the enterprise software. So who here works at an office again? A bunch of you. Who works with enterprise software? The dull, boring, very non-friendly software. No, don't be ashamed, it's fine. I do too, it's terrible. So this terrible situation has led people from all around the world to work with dull software, with something that is not really optimized for your experience. And if you work in an office, I mean, you should have cool software, you should have something that works for you. You have probably spending more of your time in an office and working than you do playing I don't know, some Minecraft or working on Facebook or Snapchatting. I mean, you probably spend more time in an office, you should, or at least working, than you do with consumer software. So you don't want to be in that situation where enterprise software is just so freaking dull and it's terrible, right? So I want to solve that because when I started working with iTexico, we've had this issue where a lot of our clients, being enterprise clients, they wanted to build software. They said, hey, you know what? Yeah, just put in a template and it'll be fine. Well, sure, but what's the audience? What they need? What kind of problem we're solving? So I was really confused on how to do this. I wanted to make sure that the approach that I was taking and the team that I was building was going to help us go to a better state. And just kind of let me explain to you the way that I think solutions are created to kind of solve the situation. And also I ripped this off as well from the same website, so it's fine. Just go to one website, you'll find everything. The solution, how do you solve something? So you have a problem or a solution, right? Usually you have an idea. You think, you know what, I'm going to solve world hunger by doing this, giving everybody a sandwich. Not really, but so you wanna solve something and you have an idea. Then you build something. Then you launch it and hope for the best, right? And then you learn, and then you go back to the same cycle. And that's usually how everything sort of had been working in the enterprise business, in the enterprise industry, or verticals in different industries for the past, I don't know, 40, 50 years, a long time. So what we wanted to do is find a better way to do that, because when you go from idea to product, you suffer. Not all the time, and you guys that have been entrepreneurs, that have built something, and have launched this, you know that you don't get it right the first time. Neither do big companies. And they have a lot of money in stake, they have a lot of people's daily work and sort of spiritual health and in stake. And that usually don't go well. So having a different process makes sense, because you don't want to have people that are that create anguish, angustia, as we were saying previously on a different talk. So it makes sense to have a better approach. So the idea then was, how do we make enterprise product design better? And then I started sort of researching, right? What makes sense? How can we solve the situation? How can we build better software? So I started looking at different books, as you may imagine, right? So going through documentation, what have other people done in the past? So I consumed the whole library of design thinking and design whatever books that you can find, and I gave you a lot of ideas. Actually, some of the ones that I'm discussing today have a lot to do with those. I recommend all of these books, by the way, so you can design better products for your startups or for your projects or for your companies. So especially the one in the kind of the last one, the Sprint, Design Sprint, which came out like 6 months ago, that actually was very close to the approach that I wanted to take. How can you take an idea and a problem and work very quickly to validate if you're going in the right path or not? And that's going to give us at least some sort of approach to something that works. So the sprint approach is pretty cool. You start with kind of mapping out the problem. You have everyone in like one room, and they're starting kind of idealizing what the possible solution would be to a problem they found. Then on Tuesday you kind of sketch it out, see if that works. Then people are kind of deciding what makes sense. Then at the end, the next day you kind of decide which solution makes more sense based on the restrictions you have and stuff like that. And then you prototype it really quickly. And you test it out. And when you test it out at the end of the week, you get a, hey, cool, good job, or no, just kind of it's not going to work out. Go back to the drawing board and you'll do it better next time. So that was pretty cool. I got a lot of ideas there, really, still didn't give me the enough flexibility that I was needing with my clients to kind of go through the process and get everyone in place. Getting a team of CEOs, CTOs, COOs, CMOs, and see whatever the hell else you want to have there out of their daily activities for 5 days was really not doable. So for a lot of these companies, so you had to make sure that you had the right time frame, the right processes, and well, that was close, but it wasn't exactly it. So I continued trying different things out, and then something happened. I got involved in communities. I don't know if you guys have heard of Startup Weekend. Who of you guys heard of or participated in a Startup Weekend? Cool. Okay, you're gonna like the last part of the talk then. And Hackers and Founders, have you guys heard of it? No. Nice. Okay, so Hackers and Founders is a community of, I guess, people, crazies, I call them, that like to help other people or startup founders to make life suck less for the founders. So these two sort of communities and areas really help me out because in Hackers and Founders I was getting a lot of inspiration and experience from previous startup founders, and also in Startup Weekend I was getting a lot of the drive, a lot of the strength and the inspiration from people that are trying to build cool stuff really quickly. So it gave me a lot of inspiration there. And if you haven't been to a Startup Weekend, just kind of give you an idea. It's a 54-hour-long event. It starts on Friday, finishes on Sunday evening. When you just don't know anybody, ideally, you go there on a Friday, you meet your co-founders or your teams, and then you start working with an idea, solving a problem. And then you want to get to a prototype, you want to validate it, you want to know if you created a company, or could create a company in a weekend, which is pretty cool. I mean, people, I don't know, I used to watch Netflix for an entire weekend, so it's a more useful way of spending the time. Right, so I like that, and having experiences of those kind of people. I mean, there's no age boundaries there. This guy is probably not the same age as the other guys, so it actually gives a lot of inspiration. So you want to take that and apply it into business, because that into an enterprise, because that was something that wasn't really in place. So with the Startup Weekend, I really like the process. So you take an idea, you kind of identify the problem. Then you validate that solution that you wanted to come up with, and then you create a product or a prototype, depending on how skilled you are, how good people are on your team, and then you pitch it. Pitch it to investors, you pitch it to mentors, you pitch it to judges. They're going to tell you, yeah, you did a great job. Oh, you know what, that's really not going to play out. But you had some sort of validation at the end. So that was pretty cool, and that happened in a weekend. So kind of from 5 days, kind of switching on to 3 days, and now I was focusing on the sort of the main piece of it, the link that I was finding in those both kind of similar situations. Sprint, when you validate at the end, you get a feedback from the users, and then Startup Weekend, you get feedback from also consumers, right? The time frame is very small. So the trick there is to get the validation, to get the feedback, to learn quickly, to not go through the entire cycle. And that's something that in the enterprise is not that common. I mean, you go to a CAO or CIO or CMO, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to build a prototype for you. And we're going to test it in the market, and we're going to see if it works or not. So it's cool. Well, how much is that going to cost me? $1 million and $1,000? Like, no, it's probably much less than that. And it's going to be very, very, very quickly. So we're going to validate if the idea that you have, or even the problem that you're stating you have, actually is a problem. So people were saying, oh, cool, yeah, that makes sense. Why not? And we started realizing that actually caught on. So we could sell prototypes, we could sell the process of making sure that these guys were doing the right thing. And that started to make some sense. And then I realized part of a whole sort of culture that's called design thinking. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Who's heard of design thinking? It's a freaking buzzword, but I like it. It's not a bad buzzword. To be honest, it's a bunch of things that I like on the internet. I found this from a friend on Twitter. It says, hey, what if design thinking is just a training that just sell more post-its? Well, it could be. I mean, I wouldn't be close to that. Actually, that makes sense. I'm going to get 3M to sponsor the ones. And then the same guy actually yesterday that I was going to put some wisdom from Marty. He's a good friend of mine, and he's been had a couple of exits, selling to innovation, stuff like that. So he says, design thinking is not more than design, bad design or good design. You have to think. If you're not thinking, what the hell are you doing? So okay, fair enough. We're gonna get rid of the design thinking taboo there, and just gonna design. We're just gonna do it. It's a methodology anyway. So the goal of the design thinking approach, whatever it is to get a creative solution to a problem. Some innovation there. I mean, if you do it right, hopefully some innovation is gonna come out of it. So you wanna apply this in any sort of problem you can find, and that's just by the way, the time is not going down. At the moment, okay. All right. So I don't know how much time it's going to take. Probably 2 hours. It's going to take 2 hours. It's fine. But I had a schedule anyway. Who cares? No. Okay. Fine. Okay. No, I know it's fine. So and also, what you want to do is work together. A very tricky thing, and something that I found in the start of the weekend, that is the whole sort of source of the magic on how you can get to cool solutions, is by having people from different backgrounds, different skill sets, different probably with different objectives, working in the same team. Because you're going to find out that you're missing some key piece of information that your friend there has, a different perspective that's going to complement your own. And that is helping a lot of the teams, the founding teams, to work in a more robust solution, because you're thinking about different things that you wouldn't have done by yourself. So you want to have a really cool, diverse team, and that can help you get to a faster, more creative, more innovative solution faster. So that's the cool thing. And if you apply it to enterprise, it's even cooler, because you get the sales team, the marketing team, the executive team, the design team, the technology team, the development team, whatever team you can find, and you apply that, right? So as Corban was saying yesterday in the talk, when you do good UX, you have that coming from everybody. Having a diverse team helps you do better UX, or have a better UX for your products. So the goal of this, and you're going to find this Venn diagram everywhere, could be Google Design Thinking, is to reach to sort of the right balance of something that can be desirable for users. Well, actually, we're going to start with viable, something you can build, that you can sustain, that you can probably charge for it, and people are going to pay for that use it, or you're going to have some way of sustaining the solution. Also something that's feasible, something you have the right resources to build, the right time, the right team, the right money, the right amount of money to build it, and then something that's desirable, something that people actually give a fuck, something that people actually want to use, and they actually want to stop using something else to use your product. So the balance of these three axes, or these three areas, the intersection of those three things are what in my mind makes a good solution. You don't have to build entire thing, you don't have to put all your money, all your effort, all your time. If you can find the right solution of value, the right kind of mixture and balance of value, you'll get to a better solution faster. So that's important, the balance there, but also that sort of process, right? So design thinking has a process, and it's very similar to something we learned since we were kids. Who here remembers the scientific process? Who were taught the scientific process? Everybody, right? So who can tell me what it was? Okay. So observe, for instance, observe something, right? Yeah. Define the problem first, the secondly. Then you hypothesize what the problem solution are, you experiment, and then you check your solutions and document, right? So yeah, it's very similar. I mean, just in this case, you don't really, the way you observe is you empathize. The key thing of design thinking is understanding the users, understanding people. If you don't connect with people, if you don't understand what they're suffering, what the hell are you going to solve? I mean, the problems in your mind are not the same ones that our users are going to have. So there's a distinction there, we'll get to that. But this is sort of the process of design thinking. You empathize with people, and you define what the hell you're solving. Then you ideate what could you do to solve it. Then you prototype for it, build something that could resemble a solution, and then you test it, and then you see what happened. So that's going to help you understand if you're going the right path, or go back to the drawing board and do it again. So first of all, empathize. So I was saying, you want to connect with people, you want to understand what's happening, and the best way of doing that is to talk to them, because you're not your users, ever, probably sometimes, but the users are not everybody. So there's a distinction there. You have to stop assuming that you know what your users want and need and are experiencing, because most likely you're going to get it wrong. And the only way to do that is to talk to them, to kind of get close to their habits and their day-to-day activities. And depending on what you're trying to solve or what kind of area you think is broken, then you can try to solve it. So in our case, in the enterprise, knowing what they do daily operations and how they're currently solving a problem, it's going to help you optimize it or make it better, or find a different problem that was connected that you didn't see in the first place. So you have to know people you're solving problems for. And there's a bunch of different cases, a lot of different mindsets and needs and activities and feelings and thinkings, and I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do depending on what you're trying to solve. And I guess the people that are working on products, you have this very present, because if you're not doing this, if you're not knowing your users, you're probably going to fail. So that's a better, I think, a better way of doing things. Then you want to define what the hell you're building, right? So you kind of identify your problem you want to solve, and then that's going to be sort of your scientific challenge. So you want to solve it. But then you say, okay, so I want to build something, I want to build some functionality, I want to build a product. Let's take the software for now. I want to build a product. What the hell am I going to build? So, good way to start. Functionality, you want to build something kind of like one for me, one for you. You want to build something that interests you as a business or as a product designer or developer, and then something that you think the user is interested in. So you can test for both things. You can test if the sort of the feasible area of the Venn diagram is gonna work. You can charge a certain amount of money or a certain transaction or subscription model versus a one-time payment. Stuff like that is gonna keep you going. Is that gonna work? And also, is the core functionality of the product solving the problem of the user? So you got those two sort of portions there, and you want to put that in your prototype to validate as quickly as possible, right? So then you want to get to an MVP, to the right amount of things, right? So there's going to be an area where you think, yeah, I need to build something. So what is an MVP? You can get the reference, right? So an MVP is not the most valuable player. I wasn't sure if I was going to put Jordan or Chicharito maybe, I don't know. But the MVP is just around the amount of functionality. So you can build a bunch of stuff, and you can go through the entire cycle and do what you should not be doing, which is build everything at once and just spend a lot of time, or you can just build the MVP. I mean, the viable product is a really, really well-known term for you guys that don't work in product. You're going to be seeing this all the time, because you want to reach to a certain amount of functionality that is going to allow you to validate if the formula you thought was there is actually there. So why is that important? Because it's going to validate a solution as you proposed it, as you formulated it. It's going to keep the focus on the user's problem. You don't want to build too many things that don't have to do with the core problem, so you want to stick there. And then you're going to minimize the resources you need to launch it. So I think that makes sense. And well, the MVP, to make it a bit more clear, I'm going to put an example there of WhatsApp. So WhatsApp at the core, what it does is sends messages from one person to another. It's like an RC, like an IM. It's just a different platform, but it's the same thing. The core thing for people to understand in the beginning if WhatsApp was going to be viable is to build a freaking thing that sends one message to another, from one point to another. And then you can start building some more stuff around it. So that way you can expand the product value. You can reach to a better place. And the functionality that's additional in this case could be send photos to the voice messages, the shared contacts, the group messages, or the super amazing idea of the double blue check mark. Yeah, that was great. I don't know how they validated that was useful, but that is not a core functionality. The MVP would not be that part, right? So you kind of Is that clear? I mean, if you want to build Twitter from the ground up and you want to be able to do it, Twitter would be having a timeline with a tweet that you can follow, you can read someone's tweets. That's pretty much it. If you want to add GIFs, if you want to add the direct messages, all this stuff is not really MVP. So you can launch Twitter without having those things, and you can still find out if Twitter appeals to people, right? So that is a very core concept that you should keep in mind. So the MVP allows you to spend the least, to go the quickest, and to validate. And the MVP in a form, I love this chart. I found in Google. I have no idea who made it, but it's genius. You want to build something that provides the whole cycle of the value, right? So you want to provide value. In this case, you're building an MVP for a car in a hypothetical way, and then you build something that takes you from point A to point B, because that's the core need. That's the issue that the user is experiencing. So you skateboarding, or skateboarding, the bicycle. Oh, sorry, shit. Yeah. So the bicycle, then the motorcycle, and the car. Instead of building the tire and then another tire, then there's some stuff. So this is a good way to represent it in a way. I think I really like it. And what you're going to do is when you start building that functionality, you validate that, then after the MVP, you start creating your roadmap, your strategy. Then you have the phase 2, the phase 3, phase 4, and then the rest of the features you want to build in the future, and then you have a product roadmap. You have a strategy. You have at least some sort of idea of where your product is going, and then you're going to tweak that as you start getting feedback from the market. So this is, believe it or not, a concept that enterprise stakeholders, enterprise clients, they don't know, or it's super alien to them. And a lot of people that I work with, it's the first time that they've seen this. So that, I don't know if those should be depressed or see this as an opportunity, but the enterprise is in the freaking Stone Age. So we're trying to pull that slowly from the ground up and make sure that we build better software. So how do you do that? I mean, how do you know what makes sense to build in the beginning? And back to the example when we're working with enterprise customers, you want to prioritize or ideate what makes sense. So you want to have people kind of saying, yeah, we could build this crazy stuff, and this is going to make a lot of sense, blah, blah, and then you start slowly going down to what is actually realistic. And a good way to do it is, well, the features that you think are could be part of the product, you just kind of narrow them down, and you have the MVP features, right? What kind of prioritization works? In my case, what we've been doing is using those kind of criteria for prioritizing features. First of all, what's going to make sense for the users? Then what's going to help the brand or the business itself. Is it going to make you money? Is it going to help you make money? Then do we have like executive support? Is the CEO like super fan of, yeah, let's build this shit? Okay, cool. So it's got good support. Then do we have like existing processes? If the business doesn't have anything to support this situation, why the hell should we build it? It's going to take years for the business to support it. So we want to kind of build something that can be deployed faster, more quickly. And then you want to make sure that it's feasible to build it. If you have a team of single developers, probably you can build something fast. But if you don't, then you probably want to stick to the easy stuff first. So that's also something you can take into account. And those exercises look something like that sometimes. That's again taken from the design sprint methodology. And once you do that, you build a prototype. And your prototype, I don't know if creators build prototypes, but it's just what the hell should I fake? What can I make sure that people don't recognize it's a fake? And what should be real? What kind of, how real can I get? So a good tip to start on the prototype is do what's necessary. So build something that you need to deploy and to validate. Start with what you know. If you don't know where to start, just start with the most basic of the screens or the functionality. If you're building an e-commerce shopping cart, if you're building, I guess, a social media profile, a social media app, start with the profile. Stuff that is kind of familiar to you. Then show the people and learn. And it's a very simple cycle, right? So you build something, you show the people, and then you learn from it. And that's really effective in that way. And then you can pick how sort of real you want to get. If you want to go to a lower end of the spectrum, and you, that's in Spanish. So, if you want to go to the lower spectrum and you have no design skills whatsoever, you probably can just do some drawings. If you want to kind of go a bit more complex and more elegant, you can do like Photoshop, Sketch, Illustrator, stuff like that, or prototyping tools like Envision, which I love. Marvel, just in mind, whatever. And if you have a lot of time or have really cool skills, you can do like coding with coordination and Swift and JS, whatever you have. So it's pretty cool. You end up with a prototype that probably looks like that, and you show it to people. Right? And there's a lot of options. I was saying you have a real version. That's my tool of choice, but you can pick the one you like. And then you test it and you show it to people. And that's when the reality kind of sinks in, and you get the person to use your product, and then you see the look on their face, and they're super happy, and yeah, this makes sense, or the poker face, like, what the hell is it? And that's a harsh reality to face, but it gives you feedback, and something Lee was saying, feedback is one of the best things. So that I don't know if that makes sense, but that works for me in enterprise. And think about it, works better than consumer software though. I mean, that's how companies like those started and got to where they are and shaped the entire industry. So I wanted to switch it up a bit. I want to make some changes to the last part of the talk, and I want to wake you guys up. I want to get you going. So last time I checked, this is sort of the amount of people that we have on the planet. They're filled with problems, they're filled with issues, and I think it wouldn't make sense, just as people in Startup Weekend do it, just as effective it is, I think, at Startup Weekend, and it gets people going and it wakes them up more better than coffee. So I'd like to try it out. Okay? Who's awake? Yeah, are you awake? Yeah? Are you up for it? You want to try it? Yes. Kind of. Not really. Okay. So let's try an exercise. How much time do I have? 14 minutes. Yeah, sure. Fuck it, why not? So let's try an exercise, okay? I'm gonna give you a problem, and hopefully, guys, you can solve it, because it's a very tough problem. It's a puppy problem. Oh, exactly. So who has a dog here? Who's a dog owner? Okay. Look around. Keep your hands up, please. So guys, these are your customers. Okay? Look at them well. Again, please. Dog owners. Alright, great. So these are your customers. What we're going to do is we're going to build something that hopefully can be sustainable or viable, can be feasible to build, and is desirable by people, by these guys, right? Guys and gals who has dogs or puppies. So this is the problem. Bobby, well, stays alone when you go to home. When you go to work or the office or school, and it really gets sad. I mean, you don't want a puppy that's sad, because that defeats the whole point of a puppy. So, and it's actually a risk, because you don't know what's going to happen, what can happen if the puppy's alone at home. So you want to help him out, and just like Bobby, there are like 20 million dogs in Mexico that suffer for that situation. I mean, probably more, probably less in the world, I don't know, a lot. So how can we help the owner, and how can we help Bobby with a product? So can you build something to help him? To help him, the owner? So, okay, how do we do it? Just in case you were just sleeping and just woke up. So, first understand the problem. So I guess that's very obvious. It's a puppy, so everybody feels it like really hard inside. You formulate a solution, so you could do a product or a service, whatever you want to do. Then you want to discuss feasibility and the risks of building this product or service with the rest of your teams. So you're going to be forming teams. Yes. And then you want to present a solution to potential clients. These guys that for example, like they're owners of dogs, right? So they understand. They know if they will pay for this or not, if they will use this or not. And then you get a feedback once you understand if your product's going to work or not, and we'll just quickly talk about it. So you have 4 minutes, 5 minutes, okay, to work on this. Cool, start. Great. Just pick the closest people around you, just pick. You guys ready? 1 more minute. guys ready? No? Yes? You still alive? Let's think about the party we're going to have tonight. All right, let's wrap it up. Good? We're done? Okay. Don't worry, you'll have a chance to tell us. All right? So, who wants to voluntarily, and I want to point fingers. All right, 2 hands already, okay? All right, so who wants to tell us what to create? So, first one, then second one, okay? All right. So, what did you create to help Bobby? Here's Bobby again.
Okay, so we were talking about it, and we came up with this idea to create an app that will let you record like videos and stuff that you can connect automatically to your smart TV, and then you can schedule when your puppy will be able to see these videos so that he's not sad anymore. And then we charge like an amount of money per month, like a monthly basis kind of business model, just to upload like a specific quantity of videos per month. So if you want to do 5 videos per month, you can be charged $1. If you want to do like 15, it would be like $2 and stuff. And I think that I would buy it. I think I would buy it if I could connect it to the app and just create the videos saying that people don't have time to actually interact with their dog while they're at work or something like that. And yeah, well, that's what we came up with.
Cool. What's the name of that app?
It is unnamed as of yet.
Come on, let's get it in. Copycat. All right, copycat. There you go. So who else did you talk with?
Well, I'm a puppy owner,
Yes.
so I would buy it. And then she has a sister who has a puppy, and she knows that her sister would buy it, so we did validate.
Okay, so you're assuming that her sister would buy it. Close enough. Okay, thank you. Good job. Did you like it? Copycat? All right. So, Tomas? That's your microphone away. Oh, spoke to that. Okay.
Okay. So we created the Mexican jumping buddy. And what this is it's basically some sort of chew type material. It's a very durable material that's connected to the dog by some semi-stiff metal or another material that's somewhat stiff so it can't get wrapped around the dog's neck or anything like that. And what it does is if it detects the dog hasn't been moving in a while or is not doing anything, it would bounce up and down and be happy. And it has a little face on it and keeps him company during the day. And so then we took this over to a dog owner and got some feedback. He was a little concerned that maybe the dog would rip it apart, but we explained it was going to be made of something that was appropriate to be chewed on, and he very much liked the idea.
Awesome. What's the name?
The Mexican Jumping Buddy.
The Mexican jump. That's awesome. Thank you so much, man. Good job. Applause, please. So that's pretty cool. Thank you guys. Thank you for taking part of this. I mean, I know it's not something you've been doing a lot. I'm just kidding. But it's very important when you collaborate with people that you don't. I mean, did you make any friends, by the way? Did you make any new friends with this activity? You already knew each other, or you made some friends? No? Everybody knew each other? Okay. So you made some friends. It's great because you get to know the team you're working with, and you get to innovate together, and you get to at least think about solutions that you probably wouldn't have thought about yourself. So having this sort of interaction with collaborative teams, with different disciplines, with different backgrounds, with different skill sets, allows you to see the picture in a different way. So hopefully with that, with some drive, with some good skills, and with some good objectives and time management, and just a passion for it, you can build your own products, you can help your startups do better, or you can help your companies just in general do better, and hopefully change your context, change your world, change whatever you can. Because if we don't do it ourselves, then no one's going to do it for us. So thank you so much. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, David. So does anybody have questions for him? Yes.
Who won the startup weekend?
Who what?
Who won the startup weekend?
Who won the startup weekend? Who won
Like
it?
right now? Well, we need 54 hours for it.
Oh, this one, the startup weekend? Shit, it was like a startup hour. Like startup minutes.
4 minutes.
The startup 4 minutes. That's a good point. I don't know. Do we need judges?
Applause?
By applause? Okay. Who won? Okay. So who thinks that the puppy cam won? Applause. Who thinks that the Mexican jumping puppy won? Applause. That's a good answer, man. Congratulations.
Okay, real questions about the dog. Anyone? Yes.
How you can define in the whole things that you want to do for your startup, like which is the minimum product that you will be adding value to your startup?
How can you define it?
How can you define it?
So generally speaking, you want to focus on the user's problem. So you want to build something that is going to help solve that problem from your perspective. Then by having people perspective of different members of the team, your solution would be more accurate, hopefully. And then you want to add something that is going to make it sustainable. Otherwise, unless you have a lot of funding and you don't want to make money right away, then it's fine. But try to validate your business model. So the revenue part is important. Solving the user's problem, is important. So those two that make sure you put there. And then the complexity of the solution, you're going to define it, depending on your resources, depending on the time you have, on the skill sets you have. So how complex the solution is, you'll define that based on your resources. But always make sure that you validate some sort of business model, otherwise you're doing charity work, or you're planning for a future way of getting money. Or someone else is going to be sustaining that product somehow. And then, first and foremost, you want to make sure that it solves the problem in a way. If it's somewhat of a good solution, great, you improve that as you continue going. But if you don't have those two things, you're probably going to be having some issues down the road. So that would be my recommendation. Okay.
Thank you. I think we had someone here on the middle.
Would you rate the difference between creating an MVP and actually using the technology or the technology stack that you use to create an actual product? Meaning, when you create an MVP, are you creating sort of like a cardboard box, or are you actually creating the concrete thing that you're going to be building upon in the future?
Right, so so the validation, how you do it, right? So you want to validate with something that is a foundation for something bigger, or you just want to quickly validate quick and dirty? Yeah, so there's two options, right? You either it's a throw out kind of quick and dirty validation if you want to make sure that you're solving it that way, or you're building something in a way that the foundation is going to be more robust, so you can build more stuff. That's actually a good point. I think that's more of a business decision rather than anything else. Because if you build something that with the right foundation, it's probably going to take you longer. You have a bigger team, a more complex, more expensive are going to come into play, rather than you build something that is more of a throw out. I want to know if this is a good solution kind of path. So I think it's a more of a business decision. If people with the funding don't care, or if they say, you know what, let's make sure we're in the right approach, then sure, let's do that quick and dirty, and you can throw it out. Or you can rework some of that along the way. You can use a technology that is going to allow you to attack different platforms, or you're going to be probably doing something that's not as effective as you would do it with a bigger, more expensive team. So I think it's a business decision after all. And the business, or the people with the funding, with the resources are going to determine what makes sense. Or you can, as a technical advisor, as a technical lead, can sort of recommend or advise, you know what, let's go this route, let's go that route, or the rework is not going to be that much, should we do it this way? But the trade-offs are there. So I think it's a business call at the end of the day.
Hey man, congratulations on that talk.
Thank you.
I like the WhatsApp example that you use.
Yeah.
But I do have some considerations on that because I know the confirmation thing sucks, but that's one of like the main features that make it catch. And if that's not an MVP, that problem never exists. So how do you balance? I mean, an MVP would be just a regular messaging app that wouldn't have huge value against like bringing features. There are innovations like the confirmation thing or whatever how you want to call it.
Right.
That can actually make your app, your MVP of your app or your software, whatever, stand up against others.
Right, so you have actually talking about two different things. One is, are you solving the user's problem, which is communicating, and then are you making a distinction that you have a differentiation between the competitors, right? So there's two things. One, you need to first solve the problem of the user, and then you can make yourself different from the rest of the competitors, so you get more market penetration quicker, more market share. You have a better way of raising money or just having a better solution in a sense, right? But you first have, the MVP usually is focused on solving the problem. Once you solve that problem, once you know that this solution at the core works, then you start building upon it with more features, with more value differentiations, and then we get to that place when you're saying, the MVP from my perspective, just make sure that it works. Make sure that at least the right amount of features are there, so it solves the problem, so it's sustainable. If you need that specific feature to make it sustainable, if people are not going to pay for it unless it has that, then sure, put it in the MVP. But if it's not part of it, then it's why you need it. If you don't really need it, why build it? Build it when you need it.
Got it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much.
And while the Facebook picture, we're not done yet. I have to make a few announcements before we finish today. David, can you show again the Technovation Challenge website?